So about that Master Rule 6 update. Hey, 34% of you guys have not smashed 11 crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it so we can climb up the 110,000 ladder here. We're within 49 of being at 110,000. So I love all of you that have made this possible. So let's talk about what has happened right now with Jump Festa, the details that we did see through here, and the tumbleweed that rolled through here in terms of the development department. Now, for those of you that have been kind of keeping up with knowledge and things here, Cyberstorm Access is the last card supposedly in the block until we begin the 12th block of sets in Japan. Now, typically, I believe these blocks are, 8 core sets? The way that they've always done this has been very interesting, but this is what I would refer to as the Nostalgia Power-Up block, where we're going through and we're re-strengthening all of these core boss monsters, things like that. Well, we got zero, and I mean zada, zilch, nothing in terms of updates for what is to come beyond Cyberstorm Access. And that was a wee little bit interesting to me that we just didn't explore that possibility. Their two biggest emphases of this weekend were the Secret Rare Utility Box, which showcased none other than the Chad armed Neos himself. You know, trust me, a monster that could destroy something during battle, and the ability to turn into anything that it wants to be in the Elemental Hero, tree line. It's kind of cool. I mean, I'll give it to it. If you guys haven't watched, the video on what the heck Armed Neos does, or if you haven't, looked at any of the other goodies, all of those are back on the channel. So I do highly recommend checking those out. So there was a big emphasis on that. Now, hear me out here for a second. Because that this is Jump Festa, and there's not really much of a need to really announce these things. Which is kind of interesting, actually, to think about, because, when you come to this, you have the Bleach panel, you have the Haikyuu panel, all of the Shonen Jumps out here, sitting up these big major announcements, and the best that they kind of wanted to do at this point in time was give us a couple power-up cards, kind of show off some of the Monster of the Art figures. We've already talked about the fact that not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 Charmers are getting figures out of this weekend for the art. Oh, and also IP with the weirdest ass in the world for a figure, by the way. That's I love Yu-Gi-Oh! Players sometimes. That's the number one thing I've heard was like, oh man, we're getting an IP figure, but the ass is so weird. And I'm like, oh my god, you guys are degenerates. Like, come on. Alright, so there's that. So last set in the block, they only mainly focused on those two things. So where does that put us right now in the game? Well, there's a couple of things that are happening right now. Cyberstorm Access is also looking like it's going to be the final, supposedly the final set for the Albaz lore, because we've you can tell by the art that we've been reaching the conclusions here, kind of like the apex of the storyline. Another fusion, maybe a couple of art pieces to kind of solidify the end of the story, and then it's that. And then you have whatever Vice's Starfrost is doing out here on Star Chromium 9000, picking up, these chicks out here that like to mill cards. He's banging some dude's mom in another dimension in the new archetype. God knows, he went full beast mode on that. If you haven't paid two attentions to, the new fusion monster for basically making Scareclaw absolutely crazy, well, you're getting a missed opportunity here. And, there's still 5 universal planet systems that they haven't even explored. So the Vice's Starfrost line is not over by any stretch of the imagination. You're going to continue that into the next block. So where does that put us right now? There's two things here. One, they can still explore the option of a new Master Rule, but the biggest thing that I know right now, Yu-Gi-Oh! Players are kind of looking at the game, and our internal selves do want something new. We want to see what they could explore in terms of things. I think one of the easiest things to do, instead of making an overglorified Master Rule, is they could just bring in the, slam 3 cards together that they've already got going on from Rush Duel. Be like, oh my god, you could maximum summon. How likely and how viably competitive that would be, Probably not that much, but I mean, that doesn't change the zones on the field. That doesn't, change anything crazy. It just opens up the door for, some new possibilities of, oh no, like I can put my Jenga cards together. All right. There's also the possibility that they could bring in more sub-archetypes, like a psychic fusion monster. Rush Duel actually explored the option of combining a lot of these archetypes together in some really cool ways. And honestly, I would really like the chance to see, maybe some odd combinations of things. Like, we never really combined like two types together. Like, Breaker the Magical Warrior should have been a Spellcaster Warrior. Let's call that what that is, right? You wanted to see Breaker be a Spellcaster Warrior. Everybody and their mother wanted to see that in the day. These are not major changes that they would have to do crazily announce here, but considering the fact that typically April in Japan is the point that they would point something out like this. And in the past, they have made these announcements very, very far back. Look at the last Master Rule revision back in, January 2020, where they made the announcement very, very early on. And it did take a little bit of time for it to implement here, but everybody saw that it was coming. But it wasn't like a new introduction of cards. It was just a change to how things already pre-existed. So where does that put us for, the next block of sets? Well, two things. We're either going to go back into Nostalgia Revamp number 2, where we're going to re-enter back into Duel Monsters era, which, if you want my honest opinion, they've got enough content that they could do that for 2 more years. We could very easily see Valence power-ups. They could very easily watch the Vice's Starfrost lore expand even more, and they could go really far beyond, and they could make a new Albaz lore. There's nothing that's stopping them from doing that. All right. It's just when you're looking at the main characters, giving them power-ups, they've already gone down into sub-characters at this point. So that's one very interesting thing is we could go through Nostalgia Power-Up number 2. We could wait for Rush Duels to get done at this point in time. And then, we can go, crazy to the floor here and make the next anime after this. Or we actually just start an entire new block of things that is all entirely original content. This is actually kind of interesting. We've used the last, 2 years to kind of set the basis here. That gives them time to come up with some original concepts, come up with some ideas and things that maybe they won't be tied to a boss monster themselves from like an anime, but they can create their own original boss monster. It's kind of what we thought that they were doing with, the Another Verse Dragon that is the current prize card. Set it up as a prize card, reprint it later on, and, give it its own archetype. It's like, it's your own boss monster, effectively. You are the hero of your own legend when it comes to that. It's kind of been the formula for years, Crappy boss monster with semi-decent support going around it. Look at Dark Magician, look at Blue Eyes. It's been the formulas for some time, so it fits the bill for that. So I could see we just go with an entirely new route here with the original content, but I bring all of this up here because there was no Master Rule revision. There was no anime announcement. I've been talking about the last couple of days that they've had the pieces in play here to kind of set these things up. Maybe right now is not the best time to announce these things. Like I said, Sky Striker manga is like 1 book in at this point. We might just wait 2 more years and then we'll see where things go from there. But that's kind of the state of what we got. Am I disappointed? Honestly, I'm indifferent. I think new things would be nice, but I don't think that Konami is really quite in a place yet to push for more things like this. And also, it might not seem like the best time to push for these things, if that makes sense. With the whole world situation, everything that they're already doing seems to be working out. So what's the point in pushing things when we have enough on our plate already? We don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves here. But alas, we'll get the first set name here probably the end of January, and we'll kind of start to see what they're planning here for the next block going forward. So, what do you guys think? No Master Rule 6, but you know what? Didn't stop the goodies. So please, leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here in the day, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.